Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Today I am coming to you sitting in front of a window and watching the snow fall, which is a big, big deal. I live in Colorado. And if you've been paying attention to the news at all, then you know that the Midwest has really been struggling this winter. In fact, we haven't had a winter. I think we've had 2 days where we've kind of gotten like a dusting of snow. I believe an inch or two at the very most, but it hasn't even really been cold. We haven't gotten any snow like to speak of. And it's very concerning when you think about what we're headed into this summer because fires have already been creeping into Colorado more and more over the past several years. I mean, all my friends in Colorado and Arizona were all like, what is going to happen? And I love snow. I did not move to Colorado for the summertime. I am not a fan of heat. I love winter. I love snow. So I am so excited to be sitting here with you today and diving in. And I'm also excited to be diving into our topic for today. I feel like the world has been heavy. I feel like the things I've been talking about are heavy. I feel like our focus has been on heavy things. And this week, I want to help us see the positive things that are happening right now on planet Earth because I got to tell you, day to day, it's just like one thing after another. And it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And we've got things happening in our external world, but then also things that are happening in our internal world. You know, my mentorship clients last week, the things that they were bringing to the forefront were, again, heavy, big things. What I have been moving through in my personal life, again, big, big things, heavy things, emotional things. We've been purging so much. We have really been forced into looking at our lives and to looking at ourselves and evaluating what's going on. What do we want to change? What do we want to boot? What do we want to keep? You know, it's like been decision time this April. We have really been leaning into our strength, which is so much what the Akashic Records forecasted for us for the month of April. But again, today, I want us to look at what is taking place on planet Earth from a different perspective. You know, this doesn't diminish anything that's going on, but I don't know. I mean, you may not need this, but I definitely needed this. I wanted to go into the Akashic Records and be like, okay, uh, wh- tell me the positive changes that are taking place right now. Tell me positive things that can help uplift me, that can bring me back so that when I'm overwhelmed and looking at the news and feeling like everything's rough and tough, I can kind of come back to, okay, wait, but this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. I don't know about you, but what I've been moving through over the past several weeks, it's been quite surreal because it's been like really difficult things are happening, painful things, but at the same time, so many amazing things, miracles, and this is the thing that the Akasha has been talking about in the monthly forecast for the past 2 months, but I really am seeing it this much, like month, this dichotomy between the light and the dark. It's like, oh my gosh, really difficult things. And yet, really beautiful, amazing things are opening up. And so, again, today we're diving into the positive, the beautiful, the incredible things that are happening on planet Earth right now. And I'm excited to share this with you. I hope it excites you. I hope you share it with someone who's feeling like the world is ending. Yes, the world is ending. Our old world is ending. And I think that one of the reasons that right now is so hard is because we're realizing how awful that world was, especially here within the United States, leading up to the pandemic. I think we really felt like we had it pretty good. Life went well. We could make money. We could have things. We could do things. We could travel. We could, just believe in our government, all of that. And those dreams, those ideals, I should say, that veil has been lifted in a huge way. And that's part of why it's so difficult. But can you think about and really allow yourself to lean into what we are creating, what we are moving towards, what is possible for us. Because, whenever I go into the Akashic Records to look at things from a collective perspective, I see a lot of timelines. And I see timelines where we continue on this very dark, awful, heavy path, where government just reigns over us, where inequality is the norm, where people are horrifically mistreated for being different, and then I see this other timeline where we begin to right the ship, where we begin to, understand that difference is beautiful and needed, where we take back the control from our government, where we remember, like, wait a minute, the government works for us. Therefore, we get to decide how the government goes, where love is like in lead versus all that has been. We are recreating a world right now. And I want you to know that so clearly. I want you to actually feel it in your body. And in today's message, I want you just to really like take this in and celebrate these things with me, because understand that we have many more years on this road to go. Change on a collective level does not happen overnight. And it's only going to come through more and more action and continue, like so many things, right? And so these changes that are taking place, they're quieter, they're softer. We're seeing them in certain areas, but maybe not all. And that's okay. We need to, again, focus on those things, because when we allow ourselves to lean into what is possible in these times, we assist in creating it and in bringing it to fruition, versus when we just get lost in all the heaviness and all the muck, but the heaviness, like, this is not going to last forever. And we can't allow ourselves to get lost in that, right? So before we dive in today, first and foremost, if you have not seen, I am now sharing weekly channeled Akashic messages with my beautiful newsletter community to inspire you for the week ahead, to give you some understanding on what we're stepping into energetically, how to prepare, how to take care of yourself, whatever it is that the Akasha wants to share. So come on over. You can join my email list. I would love to have you. And this week is going to be our second week, and I already channeled through the message, and it is good. So can't wait to see how it resonates with you. And then second, I just want to let you know that I only have 3 seats left in my Akashic Guidance Circle. This is on April 28th. If you would like me to channel the Akashic Records for you, this is a perfect opportunity. Come be a part of this channel. And it's so amazing because you come in to ask your question, but then in the midst of hearing responses to other people's questions, like, they end up answering your own. I don't even know how it all works. I think it's because we're all the same. But the point just being, like, come, there are 3 seats left. And so they're going quick. All the links will be below for you. Okay, so let's dive in today. These are 5 positive things that are coming forward for us. And I'm looking at my notes because, of course, I have to. I'm going to be sharing with you exactly what the Akasha did channel in some areas. But of course, I kind of want to go over it, right? So these are 5 positive things that are taking place on planet Earth right now. And it was really interesting channeling them because, I just got amped up, which I'm amped up right now. So I'm gonna get myself grounded. Okay, so first and foremost, coming together, okay? And this is huge because coming together is something that is needed and necessary on the planet right now for us to enact change, especially here within the United States. And even though when I asked the Akashic Records, like, what are 5 positive things happening on the planet? Because a lot of my audience is located within the US, that's really where there's a lot of focus and emphasis. but it's not just within the US that I'm talking about this. Okay. So, what the Akasha shared was understand that that which is taking place within the United States and worldwide, while difficult, horrific, and abrasive, is also sowing beautiful things within the collective. It's helping you to awaken, to become more aware. And where it's doing this most is when it comes to your neighbor. All of a sudden, you're wondering who lives next to you. Who is this person that you might see in the grocery store? Who this person is that you're working with? All of a sudden, you're beginning to wonder what life is like for them, how they live their life, especially when it comes to the minorities. You're seeing them in different ways. You're looking at them through new eyes. And this is so beautiful, where you are beginning to come together, knowing that you all are walking the same path, beginning to realize that you have more in common than that which is separate or, different, right? And I loved this because the thing is that, it might be like literally seeing or being curious about your neighbor, but it's more of like a figure of speech, right? It just means that like you go to the grocery store and maybe you see someone, like you're more aware, I should say, first and in general. But then you see someone and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I wonder what's going on with them. I wonder what struggle they might be facing. When the ICE raids really first started taking place and were coming to the forefront in our news, and absolutely like just let me bring my focus back. The point is that I would go to the grocery store. There are a lot of Hispanics here in Colorado. I am also Hispanic. In fact, my family comes from Spain, and then we have some generations in Puerto Rico. And so that is also my background. But for a lot of people, when they look at me, they don't realize that, my parents are two different colors. So, but I would go to the grocery store and I would see these these Hispanic families, and I would see like a mother with her children. And I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, what if I showed up right now and just took her? What about these children? Or what? Okay, this family goes home and ICE maybe picks up their father, right? What is happening? Like it honestly it was heartbreaking for me to be out and looking at people, because I was just thinking like how much they must be in fear, how they're going to work every day. How are they being confident? How are they feeling all right in these times? And my heart just went out to them constantly. That's not something that would have happened prior to all of this. And I think it's a good example of what the Akasha is talking about, because this is happening across the board. We're looking at people who are different from us, and we are wondering what their experience is in the midst of all of this. And if you're anything like me, you're also thinking about, how can I help? How can I be of service? How can I assist? Like I full on created like a strategy with my partner, so that if we were out in public and we saw something happening, what we would do. Like we thought through this, and we also thought through, what if one of us gets picked up? Because my partner is from Venezuela. He is very dark, and absolutely he is someone who could be targeted easily, right? My point just being is that right now we're coming together. We're realizing that like our difference isn't that different, because, while there are Hispanics being picked up from ICE, there are also white people being picked up. Like it just doesn't matter right now. We're all walking the same path. We're all experiencing these things, and we're starting to realize what brings us together and all of that, And I loved what the Akasha said here, which may be very difficult for you to hear. They said, even those among you who voted differently did so in earnest. Okay. Those who voted for the current administration, they believed that they were doing the right thing. They didn't make these decisions to hurt other people. They simply didn't understand. And it's so important for people to begin realizing this, that when someone falls short, when someone hurts you, very rarely is it personal. It's simply that a person is acting from their own perspective, their own knowledge, their own experience. And just because it's not equal to yours does not make it inherently bad or even wrong, for there's space for many truths in one. And, right now, especially here within the United States, there's a lot of people who voted for our current administration who are waking up, who are seeing things differently. And it is so important for us to show them compassion, to show them love, to not take things as personally. And this is easier said than done, believe me, because I have people who also voted for this current administration in my life. And I got to tell you, it has been harder and harder for me to have them in my life, seeing what's taking place on the planet right now. And even feeling like I want to talk to them, because wow, the difference is stark. But we have to remember that, just in general, people aren't cruel because they want to be necessarily. People are acting from wounded places. People are all also acting from their own perspectives, their own experiences. We are not all the same, even though we are equal. Okay. And that's the important thing to remember. We're all in different places on our spiritual path. We're all moving through life in different ways. And as much as possible, we have to do our very best to show love whenever possible, because any one of us can get lost, any one of us at any point in time. And I don't know about you, but if I do something wrong and then I realize it and I apologize for it, I would like to be met with grace versus, oh, I told you so, or I can't even believe you did that to begin with, right? Wouldn't you? And doesn't that help the world heal faster? We need to be compassionate, right? Okay, number two. The second thing is hope. And I loved this. This was really cool because, it's so interesting. The Akasha said, now many will say that hope is not a real thing, but that is so false. For when hope awakens, when hope begins to dream, the new realities begin to take place, begin to set in motion, begin to start anew, a different timeline, a new world. When people begin to hope, things change. And the way that I saw this, it was really interesting when I was channeling, was it was like I was walking a path, and this is a path that someone may be walking. And this is a timeline. And when they begin to hope, when hope comes in, it widens, the perspective broadens, and all of a sudden there are more solutions, there are more blessings, there are more options, there are more ways of seeing things, right? And that is what is so powerful about hope. All right. They said, for hope renews the spirit, hope clarifies the situation. Hope is rooted in love, and therefore it can enact great things. As hope is being rooted now, even in the midst of so much turmoil, lives are beginning to change. People are seeing things differently, and a new world is being built. Understand that hope that people are having right now is again building that like second timeline that I talked about. That is positive. That is uplifting. That is exciting for us. Okay. And that is a world where things shift and change in ways that we can't even imagine because they're so good when it comes down to it, right? And the Akasha said, even though you can't see it yet, even though you won't for a while, it's beginning to come into fruition. A world where energy is free, where there is more love and acceptance among difference, where there's space for people to be themselves, to live their lives the way they truly want, instead of under the tyranny of governments who do not have their best interest in mind. And I was seeing so many different things when they were channeling this through. I was seeing this greater emphasis on living, on being alive, on being with our family, on our friends, on being, in nature. I was seeing spending more time in gardens and taking care of the planet, less time at work. I was just seeing so many beautiful things. And that's the point. When we can come together, anything is possible, right? So hope is a big damn deal. Number three, changed lives. And I love this. And I think that anyone who's tuning in to my podcast is seeing this, probably has experienced it. I know I have. The Akasha said, since the pandemic hit, things have been changing and will continue to change. Lives are changing. People are waking up, seeing things more clearly. And this is the important part of this, right? They are realizing what is truly important in life. You know, pre-pandemic, we were all going like Mach 8, doing 50 million things. And the majority of it was, I don't know, just busyness in one way or another, right? But that began to shift in a big way when the pandemic hit and we were forced into our homes and we had to like, be with our partners and our families and maybe not in our workplaces. And that was a really tough time for me, in a number of different ways. I'm a very social person. I like being out and about. I was used to working in a co-working place. That wasn't possible anymore. And it was really difficult, very, very difficult on a number of different levels, right? The Akasha said they are realizing what is truly important in life. Things that used to be worshipped, put on a pedestal, are beginning to break and fragment in the minds and the desires of so many of you. Before, you wanted a lofty life. Now, you want a simple one, a beautiful one, right? With peace and fresh air, a roof over your head, clean things to eat, the necessities in life, right? You realize that those things are the great luxuries of life. Here within the United States, we have been sold the American dream. And the American dream is about excess. It's about having everything that you could possibly want. It's about, flying on big airplanes. It's about, being rich and famous. It's about all this bullshit that ultimately doesn't truly bring fulfillment. It might be fun, right? Sounds like a blast to me. But fulfillment is another thing. And as humans, that's ultimately what we really want because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And spiritual fulfillment does not come through tons of money and private air jets and endless shopping sprees and all the hot partners we could possibly want. Like, again, that might be fun for the moment, but it doesn't bring fulfillment. That's why so many people who are rich and famous and have so much ultimately are some of the most sad people that you know. That's certainly been the case in my life, right? Because fulfillment comes through so much more. And I think that in the midst of the shift that has been taking place since the pandemic, we're realizing like, oh my gosh, like I just want to be in a great relationship with someone who really loves me. I just want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to be able to like go on trips and see new things. I want to have like a beautiful garden. I want to grow food. I want to, be financially free, like simple things, right? Simple things that bring us so much. And then they said, okay, so, this is happening on a smaller level again. And they just wanted to remind us about that, that these changes aren't hitting the masses. And if you're in the spiritual community, then you might feel like it is. I know that I do sometimes. And then I get out into the in quotations real world and I'm like, what is wrong? But it's because so many of the people in my life, the people I work with and am surrounded by are pretty much as conscious as I am, quite awakened to what's going on. But this is not the norm. Okay. There are still a lot of people who are very closed off and who are not opening, and some people who never will. And that's just their life path for this incarnation, right? It's not changing. This is what the Akasha said. It's not changing in a huge way yet, simply because it hasn't hit the masses. Those who are uneducated, those who don't participate in hearing both sides of the story. This is going to take time, and this is why more pain will come so that it will awaken that which is within each individual. And the Akasha goes on to explain, like, understand that this pain, it's not from God, it's not from the universe. There's no kind of retribution going on here. It's simply karma. It's science. For every action, there is a reaction. And right now, again, we have to right the ship, and change comes through pain. Like if you've allowed your body to get way out of shape and you've put on a lot of you put on extra pounds, and like you're having to like maybe take some medication from the doctor because you're dealing with something, physically, because you've let yourself go, and you decide you're going to turn things around. It's not an overnight process, right? It takes time. There are so many different levels that we have to work on. Like, why did it happen in the first place? What are some things that need to change? Do you love yourself enough to take care of yourself? Like, there's so many things here, right? And it's the same thing on a collective level. Number 4, togetherness. And when they said togetherness, I'm like, wait a minute, didn't we just talk about that? But this is different. Okay. And this is what the Akasha said: coming together in times of need, learning how to lean on each other, learning how to ask for help, learning how to reach out to the people in your circle. Okay. For so many of you, for so long, have endeavored to do life on your own, to not need anything, to not need others, to not even need a God above. And what a suffering existence that was. For when you try to do all things on your own, why it makes life so very lonely. But when you come together, you're able to enact great things. And it's all about just this complete different perspective in life, and I have even been very guilty of this in my own world. I didn't grow up in a family where asking for help was even an option. My parents were running around doing 50 things at all times. And I knew that if I actually stopped them to ask for help, well, it better be worth it. Otherwise, I might get in trouble. So very, very rarely was it worth it. I have had to learn how to ask for help in a number of ways over the past couple of years. I've learned how to receive. You know, I'm in a beautiful relationship with an incredible partner, and all he wants to do is give and give and give to me. And I am not used to that. And it has just been so wonderful, but it's also been confronting about the ways in which, I don't know how to receive. And I obviously didn't feel worthy of receiving on many levels, right? Because this wasn't something I required in the past. I was independent. I was doing it on my own. And here within the United States, like that's kind of like what's pushed into our way of being from a very young age. We're meant to be independent. If you grew up in the US, you probably heard your parents say, like, you're out at 18. I mean, that was definitely what I heard growing up. And I mean, mind you, I couldn't wait to get out. I was actually out before 18. But the point just being, like, I've always felt like I had to do everything on my own, but because things have become so difficult, because we are real, like, because like things are cracking open, we're realizing how much we need each other. And we need each other to move through life with. We can't do it on our own. This is why coming together in person is becoming like so much more popular right now, why people are wanting to get off their screens and phones when they're hanging out, because they're realizing, like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better when I'm actually spending quality time with the people in front of me than when I'm not, right? This is true connection. Um, and the Akasha just talked about, like, this is huge because we need each other to create a new world. And we need to be coming together and being like, hey, let's create this thing together. Let's do this thing together. Let's get involved in politics together. Let's go to this protest together. Let's, whatever it is for you, togetherness is huge. We need each other. And that is different from sort of like the coming together, right? Which is more about the group coming together and starting to realize that we are one. Very different. Okay. And last but not least, love. Now, what was interesting about this is, while yes, I mean, there has been love that has been, the undertone of all of these topics, right? And of course, when we go through difficult times, there is more love. There just is, I got to tell you, like, the times in my life when I have really overtly loved myself, cared for myself, have been through heartbreaks, like real pain that I've gone through, whether it was with a family member, a friend, a romantic partner. It's through that heartache when our heart really opens up and we start really being like, wow, I need to love and take care of myself in such a different way. That is a huge part of it. Okay. But there's this other part of it. So initially, the Akasha said, so in the midst of devastation, loss, heartbreak, coming together, you're beginning to love more. Your heart is opening wider. You see things very differently. You're wanting to help others. You're thinking more of others. You're doing more for others. Love is going to be the ultimate path to building a collective future that honors all. And I loved this because they said, this is so beautiful. They said, through an open heart, a new world will be birthed. All right. And that's ultimately what's taking place right now. But there's this other side of love that is also coming to the forefront right now that we're starting to understand. Love isn't just ooey gooey, mushy mooey. Love is protest. Love is saying no. Love is standing up for our rights. Love can be violent. And I don't mean violent for the sake of violence, but violence to protect, and what the Akasha showed me is like, it's all about intention, and we know when we're operating from that intention. And it's not that we need to go out and be violent towards anyone else. It's just that protection can be violent at times. And that doesn't shift the fact that it's still rooted in love, right? I thought this was interesting too. They said there will be new religions around love on this path that will ultimately fail simply because they will not be able to encapsulate the true meaning of love, as humans have such a difficult time doing so. And again, it's really this dichotomy of being able to understand that love is both beautiful, soft, gentle, and yet also firm and boundaried and doesn't have a problem saying no. I don't know about you, but love for me is a defining mission, a defining theme, a defining goal. It's just defining for me in general. And it all comes back to this line from the Akasha, right? Through an open heart, a new world will be birthed. And you, my dear, beautiful soul, are assisting in that birth on the planet right now. So I know that life is tough. And when we look at on the world, it's ugly. It's awful at times. There are really wounded, confused people on this planet. But at our core, we are all the same. And we will know that. We will know that. So I am sending you so much love. I hope that this served. I would love to know how it resonated with you, what came up for you in the midst of it. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, and please share it with someone else who can benefit from it. I am sending you so much love. Don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next time.